It's done.
It seems to me that I wear this red dress when I make a video about a book that kind of low-key changed my life. It was a December evening and my dear friend Aure messaged me asking if I had read Middlemarch by George Eliot. And I told her no, that I've had it on my shelf for a really long time, but I haven't gotten around to it even though I've been interested because it is 900 pages long. Then Aure here suggested that we would read it together, and I was so excited. I've always wanted to read together with a friend. We've done that with Joel and it's absolutely lovely. So I've always wanted to read together with a friend, something like this. So I was excited. So on January 2nd, we started our journey. Hi, Jenni here. I have finished Middlemarch. I have mentioned Middlemarch throughout my videos on this channel for a while now, and I just wanted to let you know I finished it. All 900 pages, 86 chapters, and the finale. I'm really proud of myself for concluding this project. Now, what is Middlemarch about? Well, so Middlemarch is based on a fictional English town called Middlemarch, and we follow the townspeople in their daily life, in their, daily business. But we have core group of characters that I especially really loved reading about. We have Dorothea Brooke, who in the beginning of the book is 19 and is an orphan and moves in with her uncle, with her sister Celia. So in the beginning, she's a 19-year-old orphan looking to marry. Then we also meet Lydgate, who is in his mid-20s and has come to Middlemarch to become the town's doctor. We also have the Vinceys, a family that is somewhat well off, and their son Fred, who is like in his early 20s, and he's very, how to say this, he's very careless, he's very carefree, doesn't really focus too much on life's responsibilities. And then Rosamond Vincey, who is a bit shallow as a person, but a very interesting character. In addition to this, we have the Bulstrodes, we have Causabons, we have Will Ladislav, we have so many interesting characters, but those I think are the core ones. Obviously, I don't want to spoil the book too much, but there will be characters that are even more important. Now, when I started this book, my number one expectation was that it would be very difficult to understand. It was released in the 1800s. Yes, I have a master's degree in English, but I still speak it as a foreign language, and sometimes Old English can be a bit hard to understand. But after reading the first book, I realized that this was very easy to understand. It was very modern in a sense, the language that was used. So how did we conduct this buddy read? So the book is divided into 8 books that are about 100 pages long, maybe a little over. And we read one book a week. We will discuss it more with Aure, how that went. And then at the end of the week, we would then discuss the events of the book, what's happened, what we thought of it, and so on. I just have to say, Middlemarch is fucking amazing. I don't really give books I've read star ratings, but that was easily a 5-star book. Now, there were, of course, moments that I'm like, I don't know about that, but overall, in the 900 pages, it was just amazing world and society building. I genuinely could envision Middlemarch in my mind. The writing was super easy to understand and very interesting, but very approachable. It was just so incredible. The characters, some of them I very much disliked, some of them I just wanted to know more and wanted to spend more time with them. Every character, every set, every scene, they were built so well that, like, as an English major and a reader, I really loved it. And I hate that it took me this long to read this book because I was intimidated by the length, because at the end of it I wanted more. I wanted to hear more about Fred and Rosamond and Dorothea. Oh my god, I love Dorothea. She's so sweet and she's just a little religion nerd that wants the best for people and sees the best in people. And I loved Dorothea so much. I also really liked Fred Vincey. because in a way, I feel like I would have been annoyed by him in real life, but as a character, it was so interesting to follow him and see all of his attempts to be better and become a better person, and how sometimes they failed, sometimes he took some steps back. Like, it was so like delicious as a reader. There were also very interesting societal phenomena that were discussed, class, wealth, marriage, and so on. But yeah, since Aure and I read this book together, I thought it would be nice to have her on and discuss more with her. So let's go into the conversation. Okay, I am now here with my friend Aure. We've known each other for over 10 years, since high school. And Aure, do you want to say something little about yourself?
Hi, yeah, so I'm Aure, and currently I'm kind of being a scientist in Germany. So we have a long distance friendship with Jenni, and yeah, I think we connect partly on our love for reading. And for me, it's kind of the way I sleep at night, so I can read a bit of my book and then fall asleep. So I have
Love that.
a quite diverse taste in books. So I like things like Middlemarch, but also a lot of fantasy. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
been fun to read with Jenny now.
Since we read this book together, I thought it was very important to have Aure on my channel as well. And when she said yes, I was very happy. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was, reading in a different language, because obviously both of our native language is Finnish. Terve.
Hello.
So
Wait, that wasn't it.
one could say that we are pretty good at English. Obviously, I have a master's degree in English, and Aure has been living abroad for years and has always been good at English. But it was still old English, older English. Aure, how did you feel about starting this book and reading the language in this book?
I feel like in this book, it was mostly okay. It was quite easy. I would say compared to like Wuthering Heights or something, the English was really easy to follow. But there were times when I think I misunderstood something and you understood it correctly. And then during our talks, we could like, oh, wait, what happened? But yeah, I think mostly it was okay, but just small things that sometimes was a problem.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like it brought such an interesting part to our reading experience and when we talked about what we read, because we're a bit removed from it since it's not our native language, even though we are excellent at it. For me, I feel like out of the 86 chapters and the finale, I feel like maybe there were like 3 chapters that I was like, okay, I'm not sure what happened, which I think is a very good ratio,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And I think the problem with some of the chapters was also maybe the English wasn't the problem, but the topic was a bit, not that it was uninteresting, but it was a bit slower. And then there,
Mm,
if you miss like a key sentence, then the whole thing just didn't make sense anymore.
right, especially the part about like whenever there was like construction work, and it's
Yeah.
something I'm not really familiar with. But genuinely, like, this was very easy to read, much easier than I expected. I was stunned, really.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what made it even more fun that sometimes, even though it was old, somehow the language felt modern, or the
Mm,
way things were described was really modern and sometimes funny. And I think that made it also much easier and
I
for you to read.
agree. I agree, especially when Fred, well, we'll talk more about plot later, but especially when Fred was like, then I am to blow my brains out.
Yeah.
Like, I did not expect something like that to be said. If you are someone who speaks English as a second or a third language, please don't be afraid of Middlemarch, because genuinely it surprised me as how easy it was to understand. Okay?
I agree. I think if you want to read a classic, Middlemarch is good to start based on language. Maybe not full length, but language.
Yeah. Now that we've talked about the language of the book, let's talk more about the book itself. Obviously, we will try our best to avoid spoilers, because genuinely, I want everyone to read this book. But what were your favorite characters? some moments that you can talk about without giving away too much, of course. Overall, your feeling while reading it.
Yeah, my favorite moments and characters. Um, so I loved Mary. I think I talked about it almost during each of our talks. I was like, I need a Mary spin-off book. She was definitely one of my favorite characters. She was very sassy and kind of knew what she wanted and was just a very also confident character. And I think that's really nice to see in a especially kind of historical fiction and as a woman to have that kind of character. I really loved her. Some moments that I liked, I think, I mean, again, every time Mary was talking and just
Right.
doing her thing, it was, yeah, I loved it. Aside, of course, the main characters, I was rooting for and loved Dorothea and wanted her to succeed and, yeah, be happy. I just wanted her to be happy and, yeah.
Yeah. For me, I absolutely loved Mary as well. Maybe at first I didn't pay as much attention to her as you did because she was very much of a side character. But whenever she did come, she was so delightful and just like her own person and didn't really care what other people thought. And yeah, Mary was wonderful.
So I was thinking about my favorite moments from the book. I don't think I have like specific things that happened in the book that I was like, that's really great. I think it's just the overall storytelling and the individual personalities of the characters that I feel like every character is very unique and stands out in their own way. And I really love that and just caring about each of them and in good or bad. But
Yeah.
I felt very involved in the life of the Middlemarch people.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. For me, I do have to be cliche and choose the main character as my favorite, Dorothea. I don't know, I was just rooting for her constantly because she had a hard time. Like, she was an orphan and she had this interest in religion and like she wanted to study more, but she wasn't really given that. And then when a little spoilery, but this happens in the very beginning of the book when she does get married and she thinks that things will turn up and she will get to live the life that she has envisioned, and then that not really happening. Like, it was so heartbreaking, but she stayed so strong and brave the whole time. I think again, I agree with you on the moments that it's hard to choose only one. I think some that I want to note is Fred. Like, all those times that he was very careless and carefree and spending money, all that. All those times that he tried to get better, but then like he tried to get better, be better as a person, but then he would be like, but I don't like it. Like, I don't know. I found it very real in a way. Probably would have been annoyed with him in real life, but I found it very real. I was rooting for him, basically. And then another moment for me was Will Ladislav is a relative of Mr. Casaubon, and Dorothea marries Mr. Casaubon, and then Will Ladislav and Dorothea meet while in Rome. I thought that interaction was pretty sweet. And yeah, that stands out to me from the book as well.
Yeah, that's true. I really like that the book had multiple different kind of romances, and I like that each of them was very unique and like you wanted them to succeed and be happy. And it's so hard to talk about the book without spoiling it.
Right.
Yeah, I would say because it is intimidating book, but it has so much in it, it's so much story in it that it's very fast to read, I think.
Right, and even though there are these multiple characters, so many characters, you still don't feel like it's too much. At least that was my experience. Of course, sometimes I was like, well, who's this now? Like, let's move on. But it wasn't, but that didn't happen very often. Okay, so for me, I have attempted a buddy read years ago and it failed because the other person didn't like they didn't have time to read the book. Obviously, me and Joel have done, like, we have read books together, Jane Austen books, but I haven't done this kind of like successful buddy read yet. So how did you come up with the thought of like asking about having us read this book together, and how did you feel about it overall? And would you do it again?
So I feel like I remember you asking me once if we could do a buddy read, and
Yeah.
it just stayed in my head. And then of course watching your videos, and I think your bookshelf tour, and I think you showed Middlemarch, and like that you're thinking about reading it, but it's so long and it's like intimidating. So that kind of stuck in the back of my head because I also had Middlemarch as an ebook, and I was thinking, oh my God, it's so long. Like, how do I ever read that? So then it felt like that would be the perfect book for us to read together because we both kind of wanted to, but were a bit intimidated.
Yeah,
So I'm glad we did. I think it was a perfect book for this.
definitely. Yeah, I did mention it when I visited you in Germany, but it wasn't anything that we planned on really.
Mhm.
Just that if there happens to be like a time and place for it. And yeah, Aure is an avid viewer of the jenskosmos channel. Like everyone should be like Aure.
Yes, every video I always like and always watch. Except I was actually going through your videos and I saw that I haven't watched the one where you watched the finale of
Only
on
murders.
yeah, because I hadn't watched it yet, so I didn't want to
Ah.
spoil myself, but now I'm thinking, oh, I should go back to and watch it.
And for me, this body read, like, it meant so much to me because it was such a great way for us to bond. And like, we love reading so much and we talk about books all the time. So now to have the same book to talk about and like to react to, and like, it was such an amazing experience. I do have to say that I feel like this was successful because I am unemployed. So I had time to focus on this project. And I feel like maybe if I had a job, this would have also been successful. I just would have had to schedule reading maybe a little bit more. That's how you have a successful body read, is that you prioritize reading the book and really put effort in it. And I really liked our way of reading one book a week because that was the perfect pace for me. I usually finish the book by Friday, so there was plenty of time. So yeah, I feel like us, both of us, being committed to it and like wanting to read this book and finish it, I feel like that added a lot to the reading experience.
Yeah, it definitely helped that we kind of had this scheduled talk always on Sundays. So it was like the deadline, and it was like, I really need to have the book read by then. And also just having that talk each Sunday. So because we're in different countries, it also allowed us to like just talk otherwise because I'm so
Yeah.
bad at calling otherwise. So having that as a kind of a push to do it. I think it was nice because yeah, I felt like we're the closest we've been for years. So
True. It's really true. Like, I feel like
yeah,
right now we were inseparable in high school, okay? Like,
yeah.
I can't even explain it. So it's
No.
so nice to have that back a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's all thanks to Middlemarch and Aure suggesting that we read it. Any last thoughts about, body reading, Middlemarch, that you want to share with the viewers?
I really recommend. So, because previously I've been thinking, like, how do I stay in touch with people from different countries, and like doing hobbies together doesn't really work. So, I never had considered that doing like a buddy read would be a way to connect and still like do the things that I want to do, but also with another person, although we're not together.
Mm,
So, I think that's a really cool way to stay in touch with your friends and also maybe your partner if you're in long distance, like doing something that connects you. And definitely, I recommend Middlemarch for that just because of the way the book is structured. So it's very easy to split and it's just easy to otherwise read.
exactly, I agree. And to those people who said that Middlemarch is boring, you're wrong! You're wrong! It's amazing, truly.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Aure, for coming on to my channel and having a chat with me and reading the book with me. I'm so thankful. And yeah, maybe you'll be back on the channel on a later date. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. I feel like it's a weird fangirl moment after watching your channel for so long to be in it. But yeah, no, I'm super happy we did this, and I'm excited for our maybe future things that could happen.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so my biggest takeaway is like why I feel like this book changed my life in a way was that one, it helped me win my attention span back, because you really have to focus on what you are reading when you are buddy reading, because you do have to have something prepared for the time you discuss the book. So that one is huge. Two, I've always been intimidated by long books. Not anymore. In fact, I would love to read another long book. Three, I feel like it made me better as a friend to Aure. We have this mutual love for reading, and this was a way for us to like bond even more with that, and like reading this book that we both enjoyed and like enjoyed talking about it. So I feel like in a way I became a better friend while reading Middlemarch. If you are someone who is intimidated by long books, I get it. It's totally understandable. Especially classics that might have very difficult language. I cannot recommend more Middlemarch. It's funny, it's exciting. I don't understand people who said that it was boring, because it's definitely not. We were very into it. It's in a way very approachable, because you're just reading about people in a town, you know, the way we all live our lives, obviously in a very different time right now. Again, the language was very approachable, at least to me. Maybe you could read it in your native language if you don't speak English as your native language, like I don't either. So I highly recommend that you read Middlemarch. Like, I wish I could read it for the first time again. It was so amazing. And I hate that it was just on my shelf all this time. I do have another George Eliot book, The Mill of the Floss. It's a bit shorter. I might read it at some point, maybe even this year. I really fell in love with George Eliot's writing. Okay, well, if you want to keep up with my reading updates, follow me on my book Instagram, jenskosmos. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much to Aure for reading this book with me and participating in this video. And I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!